Hello and welcome to part 3 of the Bluebird K7 build, the Speedline model build being built by myself, Ted. Since the last video I've gone on and added some rivet detail to the sponsons. I finished most of the detail on the hull itself, such as the rivet detail across the top and the back, and also the paddle lines as you saw in the earlier videos. The engine cowl's been finished, completed and glued in. A bit of support on the inside just to hold it in there, hold it firmly so it's not going to get knocked out. What we're going to look at doing in this video is looking at getting the two parts of the hull together. We'll look at putting the sponsons on and the tail itself. I had held off putting the hull together this until now, until I decided what I was going to do in ways of mounting the model. I'm still going to leave those options open as I still haven't quite decided on what sort of display base I'm going to put it on, whether it be a wooden base or something else. I'm not quite sure yet. I'll decide that as we progress. However, what I am planning to do is to use some acrylic rod, or some plastic acrylic rod, if I can find it. I have some. Just find it in the box. Bit of noise there in the background, just so you can hear that I'm still here. Some clear acrylic rod like this. Whether I'll use this, I don't really know. I haven't quite fully decided, but if I do that, I'll be drilling some holes into the bottom of the hull and sliding this in, which should give it a bit of a sort of an invisible stand support onto the base. The way I'm going to do that is drill some holes through the base and then slide this into some dense foam. I've found some pieces of dense foam. They actually came in a video, an old video player box, just to protect the electrical goods that were inside. You may be able to pick something up, really some dense foam. The plastic itself, the hull itself, is quite thin. I really wanted to support that and put some extra support in, so I took some of those offcuts that we did in the first video and I've glued a strip along the inside. That's going to give it the hull itself some strength. Now then, I'm going to stick these in with some contact adhesive. They will sit in like that. Then the idea is I drill a hole initially for the size of that rod, just in there, but drill a slightly smaller hole into the foam so that the rod itself, when pushed in, will actually grip. And that gives you the idea there. I've actually pushed that in, but if I just open it up with a small drill and push that in, that should hold it firmly and give it some support. So we'll get on and glue this in. Obviously you know how the two-part epoxy, the contact adhesive works. Put some onto the plastic. I have checked this and it is quite safe. It hasn't melted the plastic sample that I did earlier. Spread that out. I don't need it to go the full length of the hull because the supports are only going to be sort of in a central position on the hull. Just spread that out and it'll start and let that go off. That's that bit done. Same with the plastic blocks, the foam blocks. I'm sure if you have a look round you'll find, if you want to do this way and mount it, you'll find some suitable dense foam. As I say, yeah, I haven't really decided what I'm going to do, so I'm covering all the bases. Pardon the pun. I'm going to put these in case I do go down that route of the acrylic rod. And also I've still got the options open for fixing it to the base in another way. That's what modelling is all about. It's adapting as you go along. I'll probably get one idea in my head and get another idea as we go along. Right, we'll leave that to go off. As you know, we need to leave it to go tacky or touch dry, and then that should be firm enough. Really getting stuck up here. Use this stuff in a well ventilated room. I've got the window open next to me. It's quite a warm evening this evening, so the window's open next to me and all the fumes will be going out there. Right, so we'll leave that to dry and get it all glued, the parts glued together, and in a few moments we'll come back and we'll look at putting the hull together and getting on with some other bits and pieces on this. Okay then, that's us gone on. I've put the hull in now. Took a little bit of getting in, went in quite easily, and I've glued it in with just liquid poly, which is quite a strong enough bond. I've then faired it in with some green modelling putty. You can see here how it's all gone in, just to fill up the gaps and make a nice clean bond between the hull itself and the body. Just a tip when you're filling in with model filler, put it on in small layers, rub it down and then apply a next layer. Don't try and put it on too thick, it'll take forever to get it all off again, and you can get a nice smooth finish. Really take your time if you are using filler, really take your time to rub it down and get a good finish at the stage that you put it on, because you'll guarantee you'll get to the painting stage. You'll have a look around the model just before you apply your paint and you'll find that there's a gap or a little pin prick or hole that wants filling in. What I've done on the stern, where the hull joined the upper part, there was a lip along here, just where the upper moulding sat over the lower moulding. What I've done, I've taken a scrap of styrene from the offcuts that we did right at the start, and I glued that in there and then filled the gap, filled the line, the join line with some filler and rubbed that all down. That makes the whole of the stern then one solid piece, ready for fitting the rudders and such too on the back when we come to that later on. What we're going to do now is have a look at putting the tail section on. That will sit in there. Added a little bit of detail to this. What I've done, I've taken a small piece of round styrene tube, fitted that across the top of the fin, and then into that I've slid a piece of brass rod, which has been slightly rubbed down to give a needle type effect to it. This is, I think what this is, it's a speed probe. I'm not quite sure of the technical name of it. Just looking for my drawings just to show the reference material. We had a picture of Donald Campbell stood, I can remember that one. He was stood on the stern of the Bluebird itself. Here we are. There, we're just looking to represent that probe on top of the tail there. Once again, fair that in with some filler putty, smooth it all down, and yeah, I think it looks the part. That'll do for us. Okay, we're going to get this stuck on now. I took the time and measured it all round just to find the centre line. This is really going to be important. If this isn't on straight, it's going to look a little bit silly. So what we can do, put it on, then just add a little bit of tape just to really hold it while we apply some glue to check that everything's on. Just like the old adage, measure twice and glue once. Just line it up with my marks. Just checking the back is level. Can adjust that. Pulling it straight. Adjusting it by eye. Often just looking at things actually is just as good as actually measuring it and using right angles and things like that. Yeah. Sorry, there we are. Looking there, a little bit straight. Get it into shot so you can see what we're doing. Just making sure, line it all up. It's a nice fit into there. It has been sanded down. It's a nice fit there. So it's been sanded down to fit onto the hull. Making sure there's no gaps. We want, once again, when that's in, we'll apply a thin line of filler into that to fair it all in and make it look like it was meant to be there. So we'll get our liquid poly and just applying a drop. Letting the capillary action take it down and run in to the gap. It's really making this model come together now. Down the other side. Unlike the plastic weld that we had before, liquid poly does take a little bit longer just to go off. It'll go off in about, really go off in about 10 minutes, but it'll take about an hour to really dry inside. Okay, I think we've got enough in there. We can leave that. Just checking, just leaning back just to check, just take it out a shot a minute just while I just check. Just hold it up to the light, keeping everything nice and straight. Another way of doing this is to put it on your workbench, because the hull itself should be level, and then find, when I can find it in my toolbox, a large engineer's level set square. Put that up by that, then get down to your bent table. I'm just kneeling here, just down, and just checking that it runs parallel. Just a little bit out. I think we can pull that over. There we go. As I say, I'm just kneeling down, just looking along the bench and just judging by eye against the set square that the tail is in straight and level. And again, across the top, looking at it from a distance, and again that way, yeah, it's the same way, and just look along the line of the model like that. Looking that way now just to see that it's front to rear, nice and straight. Okay, right, I think that's done. We can leave that. I'm not going to bother touching with that anymore. I will leave that to go off and set and go hard, and then we can look at doing the sponsons on the front of the boat. Right, no, don't worry, we haven't moved on too far and you think you've missed a bit. This is the next stage, the fitting the sponsons to the main hull. Couple of things we need to do to get to this stage, and one of them, in the kit you'll find two wooden rods. Both are different lengths, and the lengths are given to you in the instructions of what length to cut them properly to size, but I found that they were generally around the size that they were quoted in the instructions. Want to drill on the side of the hull is some impressions where you could use a drill to open up the holes on both sides. Then slide the rod in, make it as tight a fit as you can to slide the rod in, and then measure on each side that you've got the right amount, or the same amount, an equal amount on each side, and the shorter rod goes in the front. What you need to do is look along the front of the model just to see that they're both parallel to each other. Now when I did this, I found that although the rear rod had gone in nice and parallel, the front one was a little bit off centre. In fact, I needed some adjustment. This one needed to go up a little bit. So to do that, just cut an oversized hole just on one side, so you can adjust it up and down and check that they're both parallel on the boat, looking right from the front, parallel to each other, and then holding it in position, measuring it, make sure as I say, once again you've got the right distance either side. Then a drop of super glue. It says you don't need to glue them, but I think you do. Drop of super glue just in there. It says you could use ordinary glue, but I think just a drop of super glue will just make it go off quicker and faster. Right, that's that bit done. We then need to cut the spars. There's two sides, obviously. What I've done, I glued them together first and then opened up the inside, each end of them, so that they could just slide on. You can then, using a file, I would suggest that for this you use a flat metal file to trim to fit. Just don't take a lot off, just trim to fit so that it fits as close as you can to the profile of the hull. Really need to take some time doing this just to make sure it really fits and is quite accurate, because really it makes everything easier as we go along. There will be a little bit of play obviously as you cut it. Give yourself enough play, open them up really well, giving yourself enough room and adjustments on there. Same with the front one. Once again, open up that, slide them on, will go in, and then it says once again trim to fit the hull. I would get them as close as you can and then make the rest up with filler. We've used enough filler around the rest of the model, so a little bit more, it's not going to go to any harm, and it really will make it up and fit it, make a nice easy fit. Obviously, because this is a display model, there aren't going to be the stress and strains of it as it powers through the water, so we can use a bit of artistic license, something easier, just to fill everything in. Okay, that's them done. That goes on there. Then, same again, there are impressions on the sides of the sponsons, which once again, just drill a hole in each, and then using a small file, if you haven't got the right size, just open them up. I was always fitting these the wrong way around. I thought that was the front, but it's actually the back. So the wider end goes to the back, and they actually curve around towards the inside of the boat. I've often picked it up, put it on, and thought that doesn't look right, and found I've got the wrong sponson on the wrong side. So that would go on there like that, that one to go on there like that. And now we are ready to glue on the sponsons. Do one side at a time. I think we could take that one off. And glue to the hull first. Let's get these bits out of the way. We'll glue to the hull, and then we can look at gluing to the sponsons. Once again, some liquid poly, because it's a nice strong glue. Just look along the front. You can see here we've got a couple of gaps just where the mouldings don't quite meet. Once again, nothing to worry about. We can fill those in with some filler as we're doing the rest of it. We might as well use it and fill the whole thing. Just check again that we're nice and level front to back, and then we can do the aft one. I would mark them. I've got these marked up as when you trim them to size and fit them to the hull, they will move around a little bit and you'll get them mixed up. Once again, just checking that that's all level. Some glue on the bottom. Rear view from the back. Just check that's okay. Right, that's that one done. That's that side. We're glued in. Let's do the same on the other. Just give it a check that also, because you've given yourself some movement with the holes in the ends of the fairings, that you will give yourself some movement up and down as well. So we need to make sure that we've got everything lined up equal on each side. Just checking from above to make sure that we are equal, judging by eye. Forward one. Forward one, just get the model in shot so you can see what we're doing. Just touch that on there. That can go. And once again, there we go. Just checking everything is straight, level and all lined up. Okay, we'll let the inside ones go off. Then we'll come back and just glue the sponsons on, and then that bit, apart from some filling and then rubbing down, we will be good to go for the next stage. And we're looking, just check that the sponson is level front to back. We'll need a flat line almost running parallel with the front of the boat. Okay, coming together now. She's looking good. Nearly finished. Not much more to do, just some detailed parts now. We'll look next at putting the planing wedge just on the front of there. Once we've got these glued on, and let this go off, and we'll see you in a moment. Okay, I've moved on a little bit since we've glued the stabilizers, the sponsons on. I've gone on and fitted them, and also I've filled them in with the green filler and rubbed them down. I did say that I would also be putting the planing wedge on. That's just a piece of wood from the box. However, I substituted that just with a small piece of balsa. The balsa's a little bit easier to smooth off and get the right profile. It just follows the profile of the forward part of the hull, and then fade it in with some model filler once again. We're using quite a bit of that on this model, model filler. Fade it in and smooth it all off. Give that a coat of some sanding sealer or even maybe some PVA glue just to seal it off just before we come on to the spray paint. You'll also notice underneath I've put a little bit of detail on the underside of the hull. I'm not quite sure what these are. I'm sure it's something to do with the planing surfaces to get the boat rising out. I've also put some planing shoes onto the sponsons themselves. They're just some of the plastic strip that comes in the kit. I just made them about 2 to 3 millimeters oversize on the front part of the sponson. Just once again, it gives the hull itself a little bit, the model itself a little bit more detail and something to take the eye off the blandness of just the flat plastic. So that's done on both sides. I've also cut out some shapes, like some triangular shapes for the sponson stabilizers. They're just like an arrow shape. If you cut a shallow arrow and then cut that part in half, you get generally the right sort of shape. If I can just move it up, you can see in there the shape of the sponson stabilizer. Moving along to the back, following the plans. My plans were a little bit faint just on the reproduction, so I've had to go over them in some pencil just to make them out, so a bit more detail, and then I can use, once again, using the plastic strip that's in the kit just to cut out the stabilizer fin and the rudder, and they will just fit to the back here. You may notice that this little bit here, there's no details of that in the instructions. However, looking through my photographs from my research on the internet, if I can find it, I did notice that there was this sort of detail here. I believe that is a water brake. Not quite sure how it works. There's the stabilizer fin, and just here, just behind this chap here, there's the rudder as well, and in the middle, just underneath the jet exhaust, is a water brake. So I've just reproduced that using a square piece of plastic tube, and just added some detail similar to the stabilizer fin, just added some bracket detail to put that on. That'll be all painted. And on that subject, I think the next stage of this is to lay some paint on it. Maybe there's a little bit more detail just to go on yet. I think I'll make a little radio, an antenna base there, and then we're ready for some paint. Spray on a coat of undercoat first, and then it'll be on to the main coat. The undercoat will highlight any defects that we've got in the fillers, but otherwise that's about it. So there'll just be a short video at the end after this, the next video. That's the end of this one, that's the end of part 3. So join us for the paint and the final review in part 4. Thanks a lot.